It's the semifinals of The Masked Singer Season 13. However, there's a big twist. None of our 4 performers actually gets unmasked, meaning they all get to move to the finals, making this basically the most pointless episode of The Masked Singer that we've ever had. But let's talk about it anyway. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my recap and reaction video for The Masked Singer. This is the semifinals for Season 13. And first of all, to all my loyal Masked Singer fans, I apologize for the massive delay in making this video. Usually I get them up on Thursday. On occasion, I don't get them up till Friday, but this was a very, very busy weekend, and I just didn't get around to even watching the episode. And then when I did, I was like, oh, well, that's good that I didn't even get up a video because nothing happens in this episode. It's really a pointless episode. I mean, all 4 performers move ahead to the finals. So essentially last week was kind of the semifinals, and then, you know, the finals will be next week, and this is almost nothing. But we do have one unmasking. It's just not any of our 4 performers. They finally unmask Lucky Duck. So we will talk about that. And of course, we'll talk about all of the other clues as well. But for all intents and purposes, this is a fairly pointless episode. But no worries. I will definitely have the new episode up later this week for the finals. I will not wait days and days for that. So, all right. So we start with Hand Clap by Fits and the Tantrums with a group performance by all 4 of our finalists. And then Nick reveals that they're going to be putting the final 4 into different groups. So it's going to be Pearl versus Boogie Woogie and Coral versus the Mad Scientist Monster. And of those pairings, whoever wins will automatically move to the finals, and whoever loses will battle it out in a battle royale, which, like I said, turns out was meaningless because everybody moves forward. But all right, so we started with Pearl versus Boogie Woogie, and they went sort of back and forth, you know, kind of dissing each other and giving us clues. So I just sort of wrote them all at once, though. So we're going to talk about Pearl first, and then all about Boogie Woogie, even though in the clue package, like I said, they kind of go back and forth. But she says, I am no stranger to fighting for survival. I've shown on this show that I can do any and all genres, and kept the panel spinning in circles. I'm not afraid to blaze a trail. When I broke onto the scene, there weren't many women doing what I was doing, so I started my own movement and opened up the doors for many others. But tonight, it's about showing Boogie Woogie the door. And then Boogie Woogie says, I'm usually a happy-go-lucky guy, but the farther I get in this competition, the more serious I'm becoming. I've been tapping into emotions that have been asleep way too long, so I'm coming with an upbeat, up-tempo song today. And all right, so that's what we got. And Pearl sings You Don't Own Me, which has been redone a couple of times. I forget the original artist. It might have been Leslie Gore, but it was just recently done a few years ago even. And then Boogie Woogie sings Maps by Maroon 5. And so for Pearl, we'll go back to her, and each singer, after they perform, gives us a connection clue to one of the panelists. They do this pretty much every season. And, you know, and sometimes it's Nick. You know, these guys have been around the entertainment industry for so long that obviously they're going to have a connection. One of them is going to have a connection to somebody. So her connection, Pearl, is for Jenny. And she says, not only have we walked the same carpet, but you watched me win one of my biggest awards at the AMAs. So that's the American Music Awards. And so, you know, Jenny's like, well, I've been to the AMAs like 18 times, so, you know, it doesn't really help her. Her guess was Casey Musgraves. Ken's guess was Martina McBride. Robin went a little off the country path and went with a rocker, Ann Wilson from Heart. I don't think, no offense to Pearl, I don't think her voice is nearly as powerful as Ann Wilson's. Even these days, I mean, I saw Heart perform probably within the last 5 or 6 years. I think it was right before COVID. And she still was amazing, belting out, you know, those tunes. I don't think this is Ann Wilson for sure. And then Rita guessed Natalie Maines of the Chicks. I think that's probably the closest guess to what the clue package was tonight. So we've been saying Gretchen Wilson, and I stand by that because of a lot of the other clue packages, but I do feel like this is one of these clue packages where and look, I don't know how much of these things are written for the people, and I don't know how much is sort of in their own words. But to say there weren't a lot of females, women doing what I was doing at the time. I mean, Gretchen Wilson came out like at the tail end of the 90s, early 2000s. And in country music, I mean, Shania Twain and Faith Hill were not only huge in country music, but they were huge pop stars. The Dixie Chicks had certainly come out by then. Martina McBride had come out by then. Trisha Yearwood was huge. So, to say, oh, there were very few women doing what I was doing. Okay. I mean, unless she's talking about like a more classic country sound. Like Redneck Woman is a very, very, um, I don't want to say outlaw country, but certainly has like more old style country than the Shania Twain records. So, okay, maybe there's that, but I don't know. That's a little bit much. All right, so Boogie Woogie sang Maps, like I said. And then his connection was with Ken. He said, You're clearly a fan of mine as you're one of my millions of followers. And when this is over, I'll follow you back. So Ken was thinking, well, okay, I follow a lot of people. What about Ed Sheeran? Okay. If he follows Ed Sheeran, that's at least one thing. Rita thought it might be Kevin Jonas or one of the other Jonas brothers. That's not a terrible guess either, based on, some of these clues about being always upbeat, known sort of for the positivity. I can see that. And then Jenny thought it might be Justin Guarini. And listen, Justin is from the Philadelphia area. I've lived in PA my whole life, and he's from, I think, Doylestown specifically. And, he's a frequent guest. In fact, he was just on the show last week of the President Steve show on WMMR. He is awesome. I would love if Justin Guarini did this show. None of these clues match up with him, really. Obviously, there would be some American Idol clues, some Broadway clues, maybe a Dr. Pepper clue, because he's the voice of Lil Sweet, the Dr. Pepper, the Diet Dr. Pepper mascot, whatever. So, none of these clues are leading me to Justin Guarini, but some of you in the comments are always like, oh, who would you like to see on this show? I think Justin Guarini on this show would be outstanding. And we already had Ruben and Clay a couple of years ago. In fact, that reminds me, this is the first season in a while that we haven't had a group. It's been all solo performers this whole season. But yeah, Clay and Ruben, that was a lot of fun. I would love Justin Guarini to be on this show. But all right, so then they had everybody vote. Pearl, you're going to advance automatically, and then Boogie Woogie, we'll see you in the showdown. Now, I could not believe that. Maybe this wasn't Boogie Woogie's best performance, but personally, I think this would be a tough one for Boogie Woogie to lose. I think he is clearly the best singer in this whole competition, and the best performer, too. And look, I've said it since the beginning. I love the costume. It's one of my favorite costumes they've ever had on this show. So there's that, too, I guess. But I was shocked that they said Pearl could automatically move forward and Boogie Woogie had to do the SmackDown. So in that respect, I'm glad they kept everybody, because if Boogie Woogie lost the SmackDown and didn't even come in the top 3, I would have been very upset. All right, so next we had the Coral versus the Mad Scientist Monster. So again, they sort of went back and forth with each other. But Coral said, I'm not only the youngest left in this competition, but I'm one of the youngest to ever get this far on the show. I've just got to wipe the floor with that old scientist. I'm still finding my sea legs in Hollywood, but being here on the show has shown me that I'm finally where I belong, living out my pop star dreams. All right, then again, going back and forth with Mad Scientist Monster, he says, well, hey, I'm not that old. Plus, with age comes experience, and I've been training for this my whole life as an athlete turned singer. So that explains the baseball clues from that first week. So this was maybe a college ball player or something like that. An athlete turned singer, I apply my sports mentality to all my performances, not just cruising here. I'm working hard. I'm keeping my strength up, doing my cardio, and carbo loading. We see him eating a big bowl of spaghetti. All right, so Coral sang What Was I Made For from Billie Eilish. And she did a great job with it. It is probably her best performance of the season. And I could see, why she was such a success with that one. And her connection was to Rita. She said, your franchise and mine are going to make sweet, beautiful music in 2025. And I've talked about this in other episodes. We'll get back on that. But Rita was thinking, okay, well, Descendants is going out with Zombies on tour later this season. Rita was in Descendants. This person was maybe in Zombies. That's what she keeps hinting at anyway. So Rita said, well, there's a few names from Zombies. It could be. Meg Donnelly was one of them. She mentioned somebody else. And then she said also there's Sophia Carson from The Descendants. But that would be Rita's direct franchise. So I think we could rule that out. Ken thought it might be Peyton List from, I forget what he said. I've heard of that person, but I don't know what franchise she was part of. Was it Jessie maybe? One of the other Disney shows. And then Jenny thought it might be Haley Steinfeld. And I forget what her exact reasoning was with the connection there, but we know Haley Steinfeld can sing, of course. And, was she a part of a Disney show? She was such a young actress, but not with Disney. I mean, she did True Grit, and then she did, those high school movies and college movies with Pitch Perfect. But she's not a Disney girl, I don't think. Unless maybe her albums were on Hollywood Records, which is owned by Disney. That's sort of a not the best connection to Rita, but that could be. I mean, she has put a couple of albums out. We know she can sing, and maybe she is on Hollywood Records, which would be Disney. All right, so there's that. Coral. Oh, you know what? I'm so sorry. I kept I kept going on and on about Justin Guarini. Boogie Woogie is Andy Grammer, is who I believe. I can't believe I missed that whole thing. I've been saying that really since week one. This is the only person that's left. That was my initial first impression guess. Boogie Woogie is Andy Grammer. So, all right, let's get back to Coral. I believe this is Meg Donnelly. I've been saying that for a few weeks. I didn't really know who that was when the season started. You guys in the comments were all about the Meg Donnelly. And then the clues kept falling into place, especially with the Zombies clues, the Disney clues, and talking about the franchise. And I made that connection a couple of weeks ago that Zombies and Descendants are going to be going out on tour this year. And I don't know who of the main cast is going to be on it. I don't know if Meg Donnelly's a part of that. Obviously, Rita is not. She's probably a little too big for that. But in any event, I mentioned that connection a couple of weeks ago. So when Rita made the connection, hey, they're going out on tour, we finally heard the name Meg Donnelly come out of one of the panelists' mouth. So yes, I think this is Meg Donnelly. All right, and then the Mad Scientist Monster sang a bar song, Tipsy, by Shabuzi. And his connection was to Robin. He said, hey, Robin, it was me in 2013 that stole something from you. This is a clue we got from Lucky Duck a few weeks ago, I think. Maybe 2 weeks ago. He said something like, oh, of one of the four left, I've stolen, or maybe it was just last week, I took something, or one of these performers stole something from Robin. And so they were thinking, oh, maybe a #1 hit, maybe... I was thinking maybe like an award, like, Pop Song of the Year. I know, like Blurred Lines was up for a bunch of like Grammys, American Music Awards, whatever. But if this is who we think it is, which is Brian Kelly from Florida Georgia Line, I don't believe they've ever had a #1 on the pop charts. Cruisin' made #4. And he finally mentioned Cruisin', by the way, in his... or I think the song's called Cruise, but he said not just cruising here in tonight's clue package, and there you go. I mean, Cruise is Florida Georgia Line's biggest hit. They've had a lot of hits, actually, on the pop chart, speaking of country singers that have crossed over, but they've never hit #1, so I'm not sure if it's that. I did look up the 2013 Grammy Awards, and Blurred Lines was up for a few things, including some real biggies. But Florida Georgia Line didn't win any of those. So that most of them were Daft Punk, Get Lucky, or the Daft Punk album and all that stuff. That was the year Blurred Lines and Get Lucky were both kind of back and forth. It was the year of Pharrell because he produced both of those songs. But anyway, there was no Florida Georgia Line there. So maybe it's an AMA, maybe it is MTV Video Award. I don't know. But in any event, whatever that was is some Florida Georgia Line. It's probably Cruise, because that was the same year as Blurred Lines. All right, so they were talking about some of the costume clues as well. Ken had mentioned that, and there are 2 B's on his name tag. So Rita was thinking maybe that meant basketball. Maybe. I mean, I was going baseball with the athletic clues from earlier because they specifically said about pitching, and so people were thinking maybe the pitch of his voice, but I thought a pitcher for baseball. So maybe the BB is baseball. But there's also an orange sort of stuck on the costume. Like the scientist forgot to eat or something, and so he kept it orange under his arm, whatever. But then Jenny immediately was like, oh, that could be for Florida. And there you go, Florida Georgia Line. So Robin thought it could be Trace Adkins. I don't know what he would have stolen from Robin. Ken was thinking Billy Ray Cyrus, which actually isn't a bad guess. He is athletic. Ken mentioned he played some ball in college or high school or whatever. I don't know if that's true, but makes sense. I mean, Billy Ray is built pretty well. And, a lot of people come on to this show amidst some, media, not backlash necessarily, but just a lot of, appearances on TMZ and the gossip columns and stuff. And Billy Ray Cyrus just went through a very public divorce with Fire Rose. And so it seems like this would be the perfect time to do this show for Billy Ray Cyrus. I don't think it's him, but that is actually one of Ken's best guesses of the season, I think. And then Rita thought it might be Sam Hunt. I don't think it's that. I believe it's Brian from Florida Georgia Line. And believe it or not, I could not believe this, but the mad scientist monster is the one who won the votes and advanced to the finals. I wonder, look, I know a lot of this show is sort of pre-planned, and some of the celebrities probably have in their contracts, okay, I only want to be on 1 week, or whatever it is. But for me, I think Coral and Boogie Woogie are the best two in the competition. And I really thought both of them were going to be the final two. So the fact that they were both voted off into the showdown is surprising. And so is it possible that maybe the producers sort of last minute were like, we can't get rid of both of these people. They're great. We want one of them to advance. I don't know. Look, this show is probably as scripted as any other. So, maybe that was always in the cards to never send anybody home this episode. But that is very stupid, by the way, and I'm really sort of angry about it. But again, it's nice that I didn't do my video for like 4 days because no one got sent home, so the show doesn't matter. But then we hear from the Lucky Duck, and he said, hey, I've been a part of this in the background since the beginning, and I've left no stone unturned. Detecting is just a hobby, though. I spend most of my time on massive movie sets, even bigger than The Hangover can. There's not an Oscar I don't know. And then we see a pair of plastic fangs at that point. And he says, but now I'm ready for my close-up. And then they play Queen's I Want to Break Free. He dances in. There's this whole like little cute performance that he does. And the panel is, just agape. Their jaws dropping to the floor. Oh my God, this guy's so funny. He's great. What are we doing here? And then he won't even let them guess. He says, well, look, with these panels, with the panel's horrible guesses, they'll say Meryl Streep or something, so I'm just going to take it off. So I've paused it there, so we don't even get to hear from the panel, based on those clues or anything, although Robin did kind of whisper to Jenny, I think it's Nicolas Cage, as they were singing the Take It Off song. But, all right, so I'm going to give you my thoughts on this before he unmasks. I won't count this as well, whatever. I'm not going to count it for the final total of the actual performers, but you guys in the comments were thinking Taika Waititi several weeks ago. And that makes sense because when we had the other Clue Master a few seasons ago, it was Donnie Wahlberg, who was Jenny's husband. Taika Waititi is Rita's husband. And so that makes a lot of sense. And then when you hear these clues, I mean, I've been on the biggest movie sets. Obviously, he directed a couple of the Thor movies. And he, the thing about, I know every Oscar, well, of course, the Oscar award, but then I was thinking, all right, well, what other Oscars are there in Hollywood? Has he done Sesame Street? Has he gone on there and sang with Oscar the Grouch? I bet you he has. Didn't look it up, but it sounds absolutely like something he would do. And then I thought, well, Oscar Isaac is a big part of Star Wars in the recent movies. Did Taika Waititi have anything to do with that? It turns out he did not. He was supposed to maybe direct a Star Wars movie at some point. That sort of fell through. So I don't know about that, but maybe the Oscar the Grouch clue is something. And then the Fangs, he was in the movie version of What We Do in the Shadows. So, I mean, this is obviously, I think, Taika Waititi. So thank you guys in the comments that sort of helped get me there long before these clues. And there's not like a huge accent there, but there is definitely the hint of his accent. I believe he's from New Zealand. So yeah, there's a hint of that. So all right, let's see. Let's go to the Take It Off. Rita, of course, will have no idea. Because it's not like she's with her husband when she's on the panel of the show. But let's see. All right. It sure is. Academy Award winning filmmaker Taika Waititi. Rita can't believe it. I actually didn't know until this season, and you guys mentioned it in the comments. I don't think I knew that Taika Waititi and Rita Ora were even married. But that's so funny. Rita just said, "I hate you." Yeah, because she had no idea. That's hilarious. I mean, to be able to keep it a secret from the person you're living with and that's on the show is hilarious. She thought that was her saying that. She thought he was the most annoying thing on the whole show. Oh, she just gave him a kiss then. That's hilarious. Well, he was purposely annoying. I mean, he was supposed to be annoying. Oh, love that. That's a much better reaction, by the way, than Jenny gave Donnie Wahlberg.
You've always wanted to be a pop star, so like
this is it.
This is your
as close as I'm
yeah, he didn't have to sing.
That you are a pop star.
I'm a pop star,
America.
Yeah, he didn't actually have to sing, so that's fun for him.
Secret from her the entire time.
Yes.
Well, the main reason I wanted to do this is because it's the only way I was going to get to see my wife. Because you guys go to work and so hard.
She's always there.
And how I kept the secret, she's always here. So,
That's
it was easy. It was easy.
That's funny.
Also, his kids love the show so much, so this is awesome.
Oh, that's cute. All right, so there you go. It was Taika Waititi. I guess I'm not gonna. Well, maybe I should. I mean, it is an unmasking, and I did guess it right thanks to you guys. All right, well, maybe well, whatever. But next week is the finals. Maybe. I mean, are they going to do a bait and switch? And oh no, now it's next week. No, but next week is the 2-hour finale. 4 performers, and if I had to guess right now, for me it's Boogie Woogie. I cannot believe that that Pearl beat him out in the head-to-head this week. But stranger things have happened on this show. We will see. My guess and my pick is Boogie Woogie to win it all. Hopefully that happens. We will see next week. Thank you for joining me. And again, apologies. I know some of you wait for these videos week after week, and I do apologize for the massive delay in this one. But we'll get it on track for this week, I promise. All right. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.